Hi, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Stephanie Gaitley Show. I'm Raphael Elia, joined here by Jack McLoone and, of course, head coach Stephanie Gaitley. Coach, it's been a short week for you, just one game, but first of all, how was Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was awesome. I mean, it was weird because I was home for the first time since I've been at had Thanksgiving, here at Fordham. And it's the only time no kids were at home. So it was kind of weird. Every other year, they're trying to tell me something. Every other year they've been home, but then the one year I am home, they're not home. But then, to me, aside from our game, just, soccer was incredible. So,
Right.
I mean, it just was a great weekend across the board.
Yeah, no Miami Thanksgiving like last year.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'll take it. It was good. We got it, a really well-needed win, and soccer advanced to the Elite Eight. So it was a great Rams weekend across the board.
Well, let's jump right in then. Fordham beating Northern Colorado. Final score of that game was 48-33. And I guess with that game, you came after the game, spoke to us afterwards, said it was one of the more complete games that you saw this season. Obviously, one of the bigger wins you've had this season. But take us through the defense, because you held a team that even now is averaging upwards of 60 points a game to 33 points. What was that?
I mean, I think if you look at our games that we've lost, I mean that game was in the 50s against Albany, and it went into overtime. And then the game, obviously, against BC. I mean, anytime you get tested on a road with a young team, you're not sure how they're going to respond. So, for us, we had talked to Quinnipiac. They had just, beaten Northern Colorado. I've seen a lot of Northern Colorado on tape, and I knew it was going to be a very difficult matchup just because of they just were extremely creative, and they played off each other so well. So I was very concerned because I just felt like every opponent we play, it just seems every time we go, we're getting somebody a little bit better. Boston College was good, then Albany was a little better, and then Albany was a really, really tough defensive matchup, and because they made you really earn every point, whereas on the other end of it, Northern Colorado, you just really had to be on the money defensively. And I think our defense begins and ends with G's locked in focus, and I think she was extremely focused defensively, and I think she's the anchor of our defense.
And with a younger team, are you more comfortable being in a defensive battle than an offensive shootout?
We don't have a choice, to be honest,
Right.
Jack. Like at this point, I mean, our numbers, it seems like, with the Snate out and then Haley out, it's just Mary just coming back. I mean, it's just been a lot of juggling. So for us, since we don't go deep and we just are so young, 5 of our top 8 are freshmen, it's just, we can't afford to be really picky at this point. Everything has to begin and end with defense for us.
Well, take me through. You just mentioned Gillis was out that last game. Mary Golding, obviously, on a minutes limit. Take me through, then, the impact the players like the freshman players like Klug had on that game. Still 28 points in the paint. Obviously, Jamaris Davis, a good contributor there. But you had Klug, you have Heremaia, Jillings. Take me through the young kind of core coming in.
I mean, I'd like to think that, the minutes that they got in the early games really started to pay off. Like, as I tell the kids all the time, I think I might have mentioned to you guys, like, once we're able to put our offense together with the defense, we're going to have some impressive wins. Right now, the offense is up and down. We have different people connecting. Like, Lauren didn't have a great shooting night, but we picked up the numbers in other areas. So, Bree's getting a little bit more consistent, a little bit more comfortable with game experience. But this is also her first year on the court from a collegiate standpoint. I thought Zara and Kendell had very solid games against Northern Colorado. And, of course, Joey. I think Joey established herself on the block. And we knew that was going to be our advantage, because they played 4 guards. So we knew that with Mary as a big guard, we were going to try to expose them from their size right from the beginning.
And you mentioned Mary, her coming back from a knee injury. Has she been hesitant at all, or do you see her kind of getting comfortable?
Not in Mary Golden's personality to be hesitant. Mary is throw it out there. She's going to go get it. I mean, that's the one thing we're always concerned about is, Mary, she's going to leave her heart and soul out on that court. So that's why we've had to limit her minutes, just because she goes so hard. So fatigue is a factor, and you don't want them to get hurt while the fatigue is a factor. So we've been working closely with our athletic training department and our doctors just to make sure that we're all on the same page with Mary.
And then, obviously, a really successful game, win against a good opponent. Still shooting 33% from the field, though, in both halves and 17 turnovers. Is that just part of the process of having a young team and a really tough schedule early on?
Absolutely. I mean, I think they all go hand in hand. I mean, I think once the young kids get to develop more confidence, like the other day in practice, Kendall's sitting out while we have like a 5-minute scrimmage situation, didn't sub herself in. And I said, why? She goes, oh, I just don't think I'm as good as the ones that are out there. And I'm like, So if you don't believe in yourself, how do I believe in you? It starts in practice. So a lot of it is just getting these kids confidence. And so, with the young kids, but they're all young. I mean, you think about it, Joey's freshman, Bree's freshman, Haley's freshman, Raylene's freshman. I mean, Zara, Kendell. I mean, it's just we've had to rely on our freshmen growing up quickly, and it's not easy. I mean, like I said, we're not shooting the ball extremely well, but I thought we got good looks. We just didn't knock them down. So, I mean, Lauren is usually money from the three. She had open looks, and I kept encouraging her to take even the more that they were giving her. But once she knocks them down, I think once you put the defense and the offense together, it's hard to keep a team down.
You mentioned all these other new players rotating in. Kristen Ryan also got to come in for the first time since her freshman year after all these back injuries. What was that like? What was that moment like to get her on the court?
I think it's great for the kids to see the kids that practice hard every day. I mean, Kristen and the other kids go equally as hard. So, I mean, and I've had two sons that have been walk-ons, so I can understand better than anybody how valuable that is to them and how much they appreciate the other kids cheering for him. So that's a big deal. So we don't ever underestimate that portion of the game. So, I mean, I was happy for them because I think once they get on the court, there's a sense of accomplishment, for them. And I love the fact that the other kids are cheering them on as equal to them cheering the other kids on during the beginning of the game.
Well, then going off the question Jack just asked, you got a lot of the freshmen in the final 2 minutes of the game. I'm just wondering, what do you think the impact is of, even though it's a small amount of playing time, of just getting them into the game, Murphy, Kwiatkowski, and McLoughlin?
I mean, I think for them, the more minutes you give them, the better. I mean, a couple of them got some minutes in crucial times in Albany. I mean, with both Katie and with Murph, they got in at meaningful times, and they probably were shocked when I threw them in there. But again, our bench was short. Mary, Haley fouled out, G fouled out. Mary was limited with her minutes, so you had to find the answer somewhere. So I think the more minutes they get, the more confidence they get. But, one thing to keep in mind is our practices are hard. They're harder than games. So when they come to the games and our goal is to make the game seem easy. So because, when we bring in the guys for Scout Squad, they're going to be like the guy we brought in today, Jackson. He's going to be as physical as Grimmy is from Manhattan. He's more physical. Val Naima, who's one of our coaches, best player I've ever coached. 15 is very, very good for Manhattan. Val's the best player I've ever coached. So they're going against better in practice, and I know Joey's getting a little bummed out because, she was playing really good defense and they were scoring. I'm like, keep in mind who you're going against.
Mm-hmm.
You played good defense. So as long as the possessions are good defense, if they score, that's fine.
Coach, obviously hang around a little bit. We're going to be talking to you in just a few minutes when we get you back. But first, we're going to have our On the Court segment with a couple guests from the Fordham Rams. Senior forward Jamaris Davis, as well as freshman guard Kendell Heremaia. Girls, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great too.
No, I'm glad you're doing great too. How was your Thanksgiving, first off?
Oh, it was great. I got to go home for the first time in 3 years, so that was great.
Whoa. Oh, well, my family's here from New Zealand, so it's a great time as well.
That's great.
I've spent some time with them.
Nice.
And, G, since last we talked to you on the show, you gotten your 1,000th career point.
Mm-hmm.
You're also tied for the nation's leading rebound per game. So tell me about, well, first of all, let's take me through the 1,000 career point. What does that mean to you and to the program?
It was a really big deal to me. I was excited about it because, my freshman year, I wasn't a scoring machine and, doing all the things that I can do now. So it just showed me how hard I worked over these last 3 years. So that was a really big accomplishment for me. It was really great. Yeah.
And so, Kendell, you're a freshman on this team, first time on the show. I know we had Bree with G last time, so we had the headset come on. You put it on, you're like, oh, that's my voice.
Yeah.
But so, kind of talking about it, we talked with her a little bit 2 weeks ago. So what you feel that the growth as a team has been with all these young players coming together now? You're through your third week of actual games. The growth as a team?
I feel like it's been really, easy going.
Mm-hmm.
All of us has gotten used to each other so fast after the foreign tour. That helped a lot as well. We would have, but it would have taken some time to get used to each other if we hadn't gone on the foreign tour. So, yeah, it helped a lot.
And, Kendell, you're averaging 22 minutes a game. So as far as freshmen go, that's the third most behind Bree and Joey Klug.
Mm-hmm.
So did you expect to have that much of an immediate impact when you thought you were freshman year, first season playing? Do you think you'd be having that kind of impact so early?
Actually, I wasn't thinking about it like that. I thought I would have gotten enough time, figuring out finding out that I had 20 minutes a game is really, really exciting for me, especially just coming in as a freshman year. It's actually surprising.
And so your last game against Northern Colorado, very defensive-heavy game. What was it like playing a game like that where there wasn't a lot of scoring?
We didn't really focus too much on the scoring because Coach told us before the game, and, leading up to this game, we know we're a defensive team. So, this game coming off of 2 close losses with BC and Albany, we just knew we had to, put our defensive hats on this game, especially dealing with a team who is really big with 3-point shots and, who was supposed to be nationally ranked coming in. So, we took a lot of pride in defense, especially being on our home court. So we didn't really worry too much about the score. We just knew we needed to stop them from doing what they do. And the scores just came as the game went on.
And we already heard from Kendell what she's kind of evaluated from the first 4 games of the season. But as a veteran, what do you think about how these freshmen have come up? And they've kind of been thrown into a little bit of a fire with having Mary Golding, obviously, on a minutes limit. Gillis was out last game, and Asnate hasn't been playing. So how would you evaluate their performance so far this season?
I think the freshmen have been doing great, and their growth from dating back to the foreign tour to now, even from our first game to now, their growth is just so exciting because it just shows how much we can do as a team, even though, we're very young with 9 freshmen. They're very receptive. They're very open to everything. When Coach says something, we don't hang our heads and dwell on all the bad things. We take it in. We're like, okay, we'll move on from like BC. We came back within 3, but we end up losing. We learned from that a little bit in Albany, but it was still a slow start. We wound up losing in overtime. So then we took it to Northern Colorado, and we really made sure that we did the little things that Coach was asking. And to see that coming from such a young team is very, very impressive.
Coach has said a lot of times this year, this is the toughest schedule she's ever had. What do you guys think of that challenge, knowing that she's been coaching a very long time, probably a year that she wouldn't like us to mention, mentioning a long time, knowing that this is such a tough schedule? What do you guys think of that challenge?
It just shows to me how much faith she has in us as a program. Even with having 9 freshmen, on the roster, she still made this tough schedule for us. So it just shows how much she believes in us as a team.
And Kendell, you've now gotten your feet wet with the college game, and how different or similar is it to your expectations coming in?
It's far different from what I actually thought it would be. It's definitely more harder than how I actually thought it was. The intensity is way more up there. You just got to be onto it. You can't take your time. You can't have all these lapses. It's just you got to be onto it, or you're just gonna miss out.
And where do you think where would you like to see your growth go, or what part of your game do you want to improve the most yourself?
I would say my defensive side. I'm really gotta get better on my defense, to be honest.
Good. Okay, well, my last question then is going to be for you, G, because next time you're on the show, you might have a new broken record. You might have a new hairstyle. So I want to know, before you come back on the show the next time, where would you like to be? What would you want us to be talking about next time you come on the show?
I would like us to be talking about how great we are defensively, how we're having such low-scoring games because we're keeping our opponents to such low scores, things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, girls, for joining us, as always. And stay tuned. We're going to be talking to Coach Gaitley in just a second with our Looking Forward segment. Coach, this week you have 2 games. You have Manhattan College on Wednesday and then Pittsburgh on Sunday. First and foremost, you only had 1 game last week. What's the impact on your preparation on that kind of thing when you only have 1 game compared to the usual 2?
I mean, I was talking to my staff, like last year, we had the preseason NIT and they put a conference game in early, so it just felt like you were constantly having a game and then a game and then a game, and your prep wasn't as good. So I like the fact that we've had some space. That's, I think, been very beneficial for us because next week we'll have 3 games in a week. So, for us, it's given us the extra time to get the kids healed, to give them some rest and to get ready for our opponents.
And so that first game coming up is the Manhattan game on Wednesday, 7 p.m. in Manhattan, Battle of the Bronx, one of the bigger rivalries in basketball. Do you put extra pressure on that game? Do you feel a little bit more because it's a rivalry game like that?
I mean, you can't. I mean, because I think if you look at every game, I mean, you only get one shot at these guys a year. I mean, right now the series is 24-24.
Right.
This is the tiebreaker. So, for us, I think, especially with a young team, the more you make of it, the harder it is for them. So I'm not going to – that's not kind of how I operate. So for me, I think every game is of equal importance, and so that's how we attack it.
Well, trying for your first road win against Manhattan, but again, a crosstown rival like Jack mentioned. How close is that experience to just a home game in terms of probably same-day travel on a bus? How close could that be as a road game to a home game?
Well, we learned our lesson last year with Iona and took a bus, and it took us an hour and a half to get to Iona. So we've decided to go vans to avoid that again, because the bus couldn't get on certain roads, and we got there and the game clock had already started. So we're going to learn from our mistakes there, and the result wasn't obviously what we had hoped for. So, it's always different. When you're in a different gym, it's still different. It doesn't matter how close it is. You're in a different gym, and so you're not the home team. And so for us, our kids, I think, take seriously that we haven't won a road game, and they take pride that we've come close, but coming close and winning is two different things. So I think that we're going to see a focused effort tomorrow night.
And you have the green gym, the green court, obviously, of Manhattan College, so that's always different.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit different.
And so you mentioned a little bit in our first segment about Kayla Grimmie from Manhattan, who's a great player. Does G kind of relish going up against players like that, players who are really good? I know that's something she kind of maybe focus on, picks out, like, this is someone I want to take on.
Sometimes. It just depends, because for us, it's like, we mix up our defense as far as within the game, whether it's a switch or whatever we do. So it's really a collective effort, So the emphasis we put today was, we got to keep Grimmie off the boards. She does an outstanding job on the board. So, with the guy that we had in the scout squad, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. And so I kind of gave a challenge. I said, for every offensive rebound he gets, Gray or the scout squad gets 3 points. And for every offensive rebound G gets, then I'm going to give Maroon, bonus points. So kind of made it a contest.
Yeah.
I think kids respond to competition. But of course, we were going to prepare for it. But, I think there is certain cases, of course, you're going to, look at it and say, well, this is a matchup that, I want to shut it down. But it really is something that, if we're going to double, you have to rely on each other, So we didn't put an emphasis on a one-on-one situation as much as a collective effort.
And then after that Manhattan College game, back home on Sunday to face Pittsburgh. Now, scouting that team, 9 of their 12 girls average double-digit minutes played per game. What's that like when you prepare, when you coach up the girls?
I mean, for us, it's just another tough opponent. We can't see the name on the jersey. Of course, we'll be well prepared. I think we take great pride in being well prepared. They have a lot of weapons. They're very talented. For us, our mindset will wait until we're done Manhattan before we focus in on that. The kids we haven't even talked about them with Pitt. Our number one concern right now is Manhattan.
Is it good to know, you mentioned how every game it feels like you're stepping up to the next one, or they're harder games. Pittsburgh definitely fits that bill. Is it a relief to have that game at home, at least, to be able to not have to travel there and play a team that's good, that is that good?
Yeah, because right on the heels of that is Penn State.
Right.
So for us, I mean, to try to bounce a home and away, is really, really important. And that there's a lot of time. I mean, people talk about the toughness of the job. The two toughest things are recruiting and scheduling. Because, in this year, like I said, if I had a crystal ball and knew kids were leaving, or I knew the injuries, I probably wouldn't have put the schedule together just because it is so demanding and the most demanding I've coached. But it is what it is. It's right there, so we got to move forward and we got to make the best. And I think these kids love that challenge. I think these kids embrace that challenge. So for us, we look forward to those opportunities.
And well, Coach, before we talk to you again next week, aside from 2 wins this week, what are you hoping you accomplish this week that you're able to tell us about next Tuesday?
Just to get better every day. I think the last few days of practice have been solid, and that was my big emphasis on practice when we came back after the Northern Colorado game. Are we hungry or are we satisfied? What is it? Do we want to go out and prove ourselves, or are we content? And so I think tomorrow's game is a great opportunity to see if we're maturing, and that's this thing. We want to mature with all these games so that when we get to conference time, we're ready to peak.
Well, thank you, Coach Gaitley, and thank you, as always, to our guests, Kendell, Heremaia, and Jamaris Davis. Tune in every week as FordhamSports.com and WFUV Sports brings you the Stephanie Gaitley Show. Fordham's next game is this Wednesday, November 29th, when they take on the Manhattan College Jaspers on the road. Tip-off for that game is at 7 p.m. Hope you tune in.
Holden is open. The three is in the air, and it's through for Lauren Holden.
The team has gone on a little 6-1 run and now make it 9-1 since Kavanaugh checked.
To start the fourth quarter, Davis the spin, the lefty finish for Jamaris Davis. Davis strong down the lane, 2 more for Jamaris Davis. And that'll do it. Another impressive home win for the Fordham Rams. They smother Northern Colorado